everyone. Welcome to the Top Lessons podcast. I am your host, Kathy Inglot. And with me today is me, myself, and I, which is actually a little different from what you've seen in the past. But I wanted to do this because I have my own top lessons to share with you. Over the last year specifically, but over the 20 years I've been on Wall Street, I have sat with CEOs, industry leaders, portfolio managers, venture capitalists, doctors, lawyers, you name it, who have been successful and at the top of their game. And I wanted to take away the top 5 lessons from what they have taught me and what I've learned from them. And there's commonality in all those successes. So I wanted to take this time to actually share that with you. Lesson 1, leaders lead and have a strategy. And you may think, well, that's rational, sounds reasonable, but actually not everyone actually does this. Leaders leading is one of those generalized conversations that you can think, okay, sure. But there's many leaders who actually just put out ideas and then walk away. And they go, you figure it out. And you go, well, if the name of the company is your name or the money you put in is your money, why aren't you leading? And those people who have been successful at the top of their game actually lead. They have the strategy. They make their vision clear. And they have a very clear strategy of what it is they want to accomplish. One of the favorite comments from a book I recently finished was Elon Musk's book by Walter Isaacson. And if you haven't read it, pick it up because actually it's worth reading. It's leaders have to achieve commonality of purpose, which if you think of the simplistic words that I just said, it actually is very true. If you come into a company, you should have one purpose in mind, whether it's bottom line revenue, sales growth, expanding your product, selling it, marketing, whatever it is. But commonality of purpose has to underlie all the employees, team members, hires that you're making at the firm, and one goal or many goals, but commonality of purpose has to be achieved. Strategy for success shouldn't be, I'll just wing it. It's, throw the shit up and see what sticks to the ceiling. Not a strategy. And from the successful people that I have seen across the industries that I've mentioned, they literally have their main achievable execution strategy very clearly understood. Every year that execution strategy is updated. It's ensuring that that plan is on goal, making sure that the people around the table are achieving it, and if not, why. And many are cutthroat about it. They're not doing it nicely. They're not looking for, well, if we did this, it's you should have stepped up when it counted, but you didn't, and therefore the consequences will be heard. So that's lesson 1. Lesson 2, hard work. And I've said this before in a few of my podcasts, the H.E.R approach, hard work, energy, and results. Now, many of you are going to be like, of course, that all is, again, reasonable and rational. And you go, but you wouldn't actually know it in some firms. Some firms literally have plenty of employees that come in to cash a check. And you go, well, I work with a lot of those people, and I worked with a lot of those people too, because it's not their firm. It's not their bottom line. They're literally like, well, if it doesn't get fixed today, it may get fixed tomorrow, it may get fixed next year. That's not the type of person you want at the table at your company. And those successful people hire people that don't have that thinking. They're literally hiring people who have hard work, energy, and results to their name. When I say lesson 2 is the H.E.R approach, I want you to think of who is at your table. Are those people meeting those qualifications? And if not, replace them. Because you simply cannot teach a lot of those qualities. You can't tell someone, go work hard. It has to be in them to actually put in the effort. Energy, again, one of those things that you go, it could be taught, it could be learned, but most people either have it or don't. Results, what did they accomplish? List the number of things, the projects, the deliverables that have been accomplished. And if that list isn't long, reconsider what they're good for. Third lesson, directness. Now, I don't want you to conflate being direct with being mean, because I have been many times judged for, she's bitchy. And I go, yeah, I welcome that factor, because it most of the time comes from the fact that I'm direct. Just as I'm direct on this podcast. I'm not going to give you a fluffy story. I'm not going to be well, if this happens, then maybe you'll do this. I'm not a maybe person. I either say you do this or you don't. I love the fact that I'm direct because many people actually have respected me over the years for exactly that trait. But I don't want you to conflate it with being mean. Someone who's direct wants their deliverables clearly understood and delivered. I don't want it to be that I'm, quote, mean because I know what I want. So if you're going to be at the table with people who are successful, most of them will be very direct in what they want and need. They won't be wasting your time because they have precious amount of time. As we all know, we can't buy more time. It's 24 hours to a day. So if you want to be successful, be direct. Stop looking at people's feelings because it's your company or it's your bottom line. You want that deliverable delivered? Tell them exactly what they want. Now, I'm going to have a funny story because Valentine's Day is literally a few days away. And there's a great quote again that I follow. Uncommunicated expectations cause premeditated resentments. It's one of those examples where I've said this many times. Well, if you know what you want, say it. Don't assume that the person across from you knows what your expectations are. This comes to dating. This comes to jobs. This comes to your personal life. This comes to every life choice you're going to make. So let's just talk about Valentine's Day. If you're going out with a person, maybe your first date or your third date, or maybe this is your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, and you want something, flowers, card, dinner, spa day, whatever that it may be, communicate it. Don't have it be a guess. Because if you don't get what you want, or a version of getting what you want, you will start having that resentment because someone else will tell you, oh, I got exactly what you wanted. And you're going to be like, how did that person not know? And the answer is you didn't communicate it. Directness doesn't mean you're going to be the high expectation person. It just means you're going to go ask for it and you may get exactly what you want, in some cases even more. So go be direct. And for those of you out there for Valentine's Day, just ask. It doesn't hurt. It's just ask the person, what do they want? And if they tell you, oh, I leave it up to you, then guess what? They left it up to you. You're going to plan it, and I'm sure you're going to do a great job. And if not, you'll learn it with person number 2 later, which is literally sometimes what I tell as my dating advice. I go, well, if this guy doesn't get it or this woman doesn't get it, you'll get it on the next one. Because life is about learning, and if the person next to you isn't the one, the person after that may be the one. 4th lesson, caring for other people. Some of the most successful people that I've met and sat and chatted with and actually gotten to know over the years literally do care for their people. They care about if a life event happens, if there's a tragedy, if there's something going on in your personal life that is actually causing you to be less than at work. Or if you've been promoted and they're the ones that have promoted you. They literally do care. Now, they're not going to be, hugging you and sending you flowers, but they're going to be showing you that they care because they're saying the words, thank you, or they're saying the words, great job, here's the promotion, or here's the pay. And the opposite of that is people who don't care most likely won't be the ones that will be promoting you and will be paying you. Now, what's the difference between those two? Years ago, I had a very successful person tell me the reason why their team is amazing and they are literally people that will work 24 hours, 7 days a week for this CEO is truthfully because, one, he's been there for most of their life events, but he's paid them and he's promoted them. And you may say, okay, great, that means what? And he actually asks them, what is important to you? What is important to your life? Is it because you're a young mom and you have small kids at home and maybe you need an extra few hours a day to go and be with your children more? Or is it that you need flexibility at home so that you can log in when you get home to finish your work? Or is it that you can work all those crazy hours because you want that promotion and that enormous pay package at the end of the year? So he listens, and he told me, you would be shocked as to how many people did not listen to what their employees wanted. And I'm not talking about those people surveys. God, those things should be thrown out the window. No one ever answers those things truthfully. Most people are, I think, afraid that if they do something or say something truthful, that they literally will be walked out of the doors, out of the firm. They actually need to take in from the managers that deal with people directly and say, what is it that you want or what's important to you? Do you want a hybrid working schedule? And if not, do you want that promotion over that extra pay? Or in some cases, if you can't get any of those, is a thank you good enough? Or at least knowing that your manager has your back. So caring actually works. Now, I have a funny story for you. I don't have children. One of those life choices I've made up to this point of my life. But when I worked at Goldman, many people at Goldman around me were, husbands, wives who had children. And they were always leaving. I got to leave earlier because I have a teacher-parent conference or a recital or a kid's dentist visit. And I turned around to my boss and I go, my pet rock needs me. And he literally froze and started laughing. He goes, what? I go, my pet rock at home is crying. He needs me. And he got it. And he got it and he laughed and he said, oh, I understand what you're saying. And I was like, yeah, I'm the only person on this team. Not only. There were a few others. But we were kind of, always the ones staying longer and working longer hours, truthfully, because everyone else was going home to be with their families. And I said, look, I don't want to discourage anyone from leaving to go to their family, but I also want it to be fair and equal. My pet rock, and it was a joke later on in the years, they literally gave me a rock and put the name as Pet Rock. I never gave it a name, funny enough. But I would always say, my pet rock needs me, I need to go home. Take conscious decision about who's at your table at work, whether you're a manager or, of one or many people, and figure out, are you actually being fair and reasonable to everyone around you, on your team, in your group? No one should be getting special treatment. And if they are, maybe once in a while, but recognize that there's people that may not have the same, life at home, but they need fair and equal treatment. It shouldn't be the only person with, 6 kids, if they chose to have 6 kids, that needs to always go home on Friday early. There needs to be a turn of fairness and reasonableness across the whole team. And the last lesson, and some of you may have thought that I would have started with this, and actually is a lesson that I cannot name the CEO of the firm, but it is a person that most of you would know if you're in finance. And the last lesson is, what's your motivation? If you are a successful person or want to be a successful person, what's your motivation? What is that it factor that gets you out of bed every day? Now, for some of you, it may be your children, a house you want to build and buy, a dream career you want to have, or maybe it's just stability. Maybe you want financial stability in your life because you didn't have it when you were, growing up or you had a few unlucky events happen. And the reason I laugh is because the CEO told me this frank conversation that we had. Some of you may think this is a hysterical story. Now, I'm going to disclaim this. I'm not going to be for any type of drugs. But this very successful CEO told me, if you want to motivate something in your life, think like a crackhead. And I was like, what? What did you just say? And literally, if I could tell you the name of the person, Fortune 500 company, successful CEO on the street for many, many years. He said, think like a crackhead. And I go, okay, you need to give me context to this. And he goes, a drug addict / a crackhead, the New York, lingo, is someone who gets up every day and needs to have that next hit. They need that, I need to, go get high again for whatever drug you're on. And they find a way. They find a way to literally make the money, steal the money, whatever it is that they need to do, they find a way to get high the next day. And you go, why don't most successful people who want to achieve something think the same way? Why isn't that drive just as much as the person who needs that next high? And I literally cannot tell you, I laughed out loud and I go, that is absolutely a great metaphor. You go, if that person finds a way every day to be successful and determined to find that next high, why isn't the person that has internet access, education, resources, find a way to be successful? What is stopping you? And most of the time, what's stopping us is that we're not focused on the motivation. We don't have that Post-it note in front of us all the time that says, I need to be motivated to make this successful. For those of you that know me, I had a Post-it note on most of my desks in wherever place I worked. And I have a Post-it note at home now. And that Post-it note, I can't divulge exactly what it says, but it's the motivation of what gets me to ensure that I am successful and that I keep the success going and that I'm making sure that I'm turning over rocks, not the pet rock, regular rocks, to ensure that every day is better than the last. Now, I have this funny mentality kind of statement, and I'll tell you what's on the Post-it notes. And the Post-it note says, from the have-nots to the yachts. It's the mentality of making sure that one day you achieve your goals so that you're on that yacht and you're not thinking about what you should have done because you did it. So know your why, know exactly what you're doing it for, whether it's yourself or someone else, and go after it. Now, I've said 5 lessons to you about successful people and their motivations. And literally it is a motivation that has inspired not only me, but has inspired them. These are conversations, for the most part, with very, millionaires, billionaires on my list of people that I've also interviewed and also known personally in my life. And you literally want to step back and say, how did they do it? And look, the simple answer is there's books on all motivations of all sorts of ways. I'm a big reader, and I've said this before. If you need motivation, pick up a good book. Follow the successful paths of someone who has done it. Funny story is, I had someone recently come up to me, or call me, I should say, and say, hey, how did you start off in Wall Street? And how did you know that that career was for you? And the simple answer was, obviously, I went undergrad, got a degree in finance and economics, but I also knew that I wanted something different, legal, law, compliance. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I just happened to fall into a certain amount of, lucky steps. But what worked for me won't work for you. But you need to know what is it that you want and what is it that you don't want. And one of the funny stories throughout my career is young people come into a role, but they don't ask, what does this role require? What are the hours like? What is the motivation behind what is it that this group does? How hard am I going to work? And they ask the person that's interviewing them. And in most cases, the interviewee is the person, or the interviewer is the person that has already done all the hard work. They're the manager up the ladder that will be giving you your job duties. So asking that person sometimes is not the right person to ask. You need to ask the person on the level of where your role is, how hard you're going to be working. And I was actually one of the frank managers that when I interviewed someone, I said, look, this job requires you to be at the desk at 7 or 7:30. And we don't have a certain time we go home. You could be literally working to 7, or sometimes you can leave at 5:30, or sometimes you'll be working till 9. But you need to know that that is that expectation of this role. And some people were not built for that expectation. Some people wanted a 9 to 5. Others wanted to start at 10 and they could work up to 10 p.m. And others just wanted something else. And you go, well, if you know this job requires you to get up every morning at 7 to 7:30 and be at the desk at that time, don't take the job if you're sleeping in at 9 a.m. every morning. It's not the job for you, simply based on time. And you go, well, that's kind of old style of thinking. And the old style of thinking is that style is still there for many, many roles. So if you want a specific role, find out what the people that got there did to go up the ladder. Don't ask the guy that's already at the top because he has put in his hard time, or the woman has put in her hard time. Ask the person that started at the bottom and how they feel and what it took to go up those ladder steps. So again, 5 lessons, and they're simple lessons, but they're lessons that have overlapped throughout my career of Wall Street and now podcasting. But it also has been an overlap that I've seen so successful in all these commonalities of traits and purpose that I wanted to share this with you to say, look, if you need a lesson on how to literally go at your goals, type in these 5 lessons, put in the requirements of what your perfect role or perfect career or perfect whatever will be like, and start punching those lessons into an AI app and say, what is it that I need to do to achieve these steps? And I guarantee you there will be many people along the way that are willing to help you. Ask for those mentors to help you, and ask for those people to actually show you what worked and what didn't work. Because many people are literally willing and able to give you that heads up that they did not have. Because most of the time people want better for everyone around them. So on that note, I hope those 5 lessons really do help you to achieve whatever it is that's on your Post-it note. And with that, I hope you like, subscribe, and listen to the next podcast. And this is Kathy with the Top Lessons saying, go after whatever you want. And again, if I can give you my Post-it note, it's from the have-nots to the yachts. And I hope to be on that yacht soon. Thanks, guys. See you soon.